Hello again, I am Blunty, and for those of you who made it through yesterday's waffling, meandering drivel of a video, you would have heard my thoughts, or initial thoughts at least, on AMD's new announcement of their Radeon VII GPU. Well, as I slumbered overnight, Jensen Huang, you know what? I've never actually heard his name said out loud, or I never paid attention to it when I've only ever seen it written, usually. And I've met the man in person, briefly, once. Never spoke to him, but still. Is that right? Jensen Huang? The big guy at Nvidia. PC World was interviewing him at CES, asked him for his thoughts on AMD's new GPU announcements, and this is what he had to say. And I'm going to look down here so I get it right. The performance is lousy, and there's nothing new. There's no ray tracing, no AI. It's 7 nanometers with HBM memory, and that barely keeps up with a 2080. And if we turn on DLSS, we'll crush it. And if we turn on ray tracing, we'll crush it. He went on to comment on Lisa Su's presentation as a whole, Lisa Su being his equivalent over at AMD. She runs the show over there. And of her presentation, he said, "It's a weird launch. Maybe they thought of it this morning." Oh, somebody's salty. Somebody pissed in Jensen's cereal that morning. He is pissy. Bitchy is the word I would use. That's bitchiness right there. But then again, Jensen, I like your products. But if my company, or the company that I ran, as such, the company that you runs, plummeted in value so severely over the last little while, I'd be a little oversensitive about competition too. Just saying. I'd be oversensitive too. I'd be a little raw. I might hold my tongue in interview with press when it comes to being just flat out high school bitchy about my direct competition, if that was the case. But then again, my own impulse control is less than spectacular, so maybe I wouldn't. Of course, what Jensen failed to mention was that ray tracing and DLSS stuff, when you turn it on, you'll crush the competition. Well, ray tracing it hurts your frame rates. It looks better, but it hurts your frame rates quite significantly. And by the way, they're available in 2, 3 games? With ray tracing in 1 and DLSS in hardly anything? Yeah, okay. Let's talk again when it's in everything. That, when it's universally useful and not just a marketing stunt. PC World then went on to ask Jensen about his thoughts on FreeSync, which is poignant given that his company essentially just announced compatibility with FreeSync. They don't call it FreeSync because that's AMD's marketing name for the industry standard of variable frame rate sync stuff. AMD just call it FreeSync because it's catchier than the real VESA standard name for it, Adaptive Sync. Also, AMD called it FreeSync because Nvidia's way of keeping frame rates and monitor refresh in sync with each other, which, by the way, is a really nice thing to do because it stops game tearing and, it stops a whole bunch of issues that are really quite annoying when you're trying playing. Anyway, the G-Sync functionality in their cards, until a couple of days ago when they made the announcement, you had to, any monitor manufacturer who wanted G-Sync in their monitor had to buy a little module and license the technology from Nvidia, which added a whole bunch of costs to the monitor. So G-Sync monitors were significantly more expensive than any other monitor out there, regardless of whether it had FreeSync or not. And so many are seeing Nvidia's finally bowing to the pressures, the public pressures, to the requests for them just to support FreeSync. It's a free and open standard. It won't cost you anything to support it. Just do it. And they finally did. They're calling it something different, and they're never ever saying the word FreeSync, but it's essentially the same thing. And then they sort of did a little song and dance and tap danced around it and said, well, most FreeSync monitors don't come up to the standard. We tested hundreds and 12 measured up to the standard. What they mean by that is 12 worked automatically with their software right out of the gate. But here's what Jensen had to say in this interview about FreeSync. "We never competed. FreeSync was never proven to work." I'm sorry, what? FreeSync's been around for 3, 4 years now? 3 years at least. I've used it. It works. It works really well. And I'm pretty sure if it didn't work, there'd be quite a few people out there buying these less expensive FreeSync monitors that would be complaining about them not working by now, don't you think? Wouldn't the internet be... I mean, if there's one thing the internet's good at is screeching when something doesn't work. When they've paid money for something and it doesn't work, you're probably going to hear about it on the internets, Jensen. As you know, we invented the area of adaptive sync. The truth is, most of the FreeSync monitors do not work. They do not even work with AMD's graphics cards. Again, doubling down on it. Just claiming it flat out doesn't work. It does. I've tested it. Smarter people than I have tested it. Many, many YouTube channels have tested, done comparisons, FreeSync, G-Sync. There's a bunch of videos out there about it. Industry, you know, VESA, the body responsible for these standards, have standardized it. It works, Jensen. It works. I promise you it works. You're lying at this point. That makes you seem a bit desperate, to be frank. That makes you seem a little bit scared. And for those of you who did make it through yesterday's rambling, meandering, wandering, baffling video, you'll have heard me mention that I think Nvidia do actually need a quick slap around the gob to make them a little more, what were the words I used? A better corporate citizen when it came to their products and responding appropriately to competition. This is how Jensen chooses to respond to his competition. AMD have, by the way, before I ramble on, I just want to move over to how Lisa Su responded to these comments. What I would say is that we're very excited about Radeon VII, and I would probably suggest that he, Jensen, hasn't seen it yet. Boom! Chat, that's how you respond. It's just a little undercurrent, a little razor thing, nick to the Achilles heel, just a little bit of snark, but not enough to come off as petty and juvenile. Jensen. This, by the way, is one of the many reasons I like Lisa more than Jensen as a corporate face, as an entity. She has a way of responding that Jensen doesn't quite master. Again, I want to. It's probably too late to make this statement because the people who are going to accuse me of being a fanboy for one side or the other have already done it and not even watched the video. But in that machine right there, sitting next to me, that's recording this right now, there's a Nvidia GPU in there. And that machine right there that I sometimes play games on when I don't want to sort of load up that system is streaming and gaming at the same time, sort of CPU-intensive games like the catastrophe that was Atlas. That's got an Nvidia GPU in there as well. I'm also currently testing and rather enjoying a 2080 Ti, which unfortunately will have to be sent back to Asus, but keep an eye out for that soon. So yeah, I'm not anti-Nvidia. And my VR machine, which is just over there, that's got an AMD GPU in there, the Vega 56, which I think is a really nice bit of kit. So, not a fanboy. I mean, doesn't it annoy you that anytime someone like me, who does this kind of stuff on YouTube, speaks for or against any particular brand that has a significant, 1v1 competition out there, that people will just accuse you of being a fanboy for having an opinion? It's so annoying and frustrating. I delete those comments, just to let you know, because they're worthless comments. They add nothing to the conversation. They are worthless comments, so they just disappear, so they don't distract from any real conversation you people are trying to have with each other. But all that said and done, it's pretty clear that Nvidia are feeling the pressure. If they weren't feeling the pressure, they would have just let this stuff slide right off their back. But the fact that AMD beat them to 7 nanometer, they have a competitive card with their sort of flagship 2080 model. Well, I guess technically the Ti is the flagship model, but you know what I mean. One of their sort of big, fancy new flagships. I mean, it's a little disappointing to hear someone from a company like Nvidia be such a pissy little bitch. And I think the greatest shame of all this is the fact that Nvidia fanboys, speaking of fanboys and stuff, are just going to pick up these comments and run with it. You're going to see, and probably already are, I haven't checked, but if you go to Reddit right now, I bet you already there's Nvidia fanboys parroting this stuff. FreeSync doesn't work. FreeSync's never worked. I think it's just a shame that someone like Jensen, head of Nvidia, out there as the public face of the company, up on stage, has to debase himself, can't lead by example by being a decent, classy, guy who just can stand up with a little bit of integrity, a little bit of class, instead of debasing himself like this, coming across like a whiny little salty Fortnite playing bitch. It makes me like Nvidia as a brand less when I hear Jensen go on like this. It's just a little bit pathetic. And I say this as a man-child, but grow up, Jensen. Grow up. Competition is good for everybody. This is a fact. This is how our society works. This is capitalism in action. Don't be a little bitch about it. Thanks for watching. I'm Blunty. I will catch you next time.